All right, so we're going to go through some training on the inspections and the reports. So this is the way I do it. This is the best way to do it. You cannot rely that you're going to do it on the phone. That can't happen here, at least at first. You have to write the reports on the computer. Why? Because you will make mistakes if you don't. You can't see everything on the mobile app. People will put things in the wrong narrative or discrepancy, which I do all the time. You're trying to say that there's damage over here, but then you put that damage with the failed caulking section or vice versa or something like that. This is the way that I do it. I have two screens. If you don't have two screens, it will really benefit you when it comes to writing reports. But even if you wanted to split it onto one screen, like I have here, that's fine as well. What I do is I always go into the preview mode, I go full report, and I get the PDF. So the PDF right here is important because you can see everything at one time. So you don't have to kind of click back and forth through informational comments to see everything. You can just scroll down. Now, number one, when we write these narratives, right, you want them to be descriptive. So you can't just say door doesn't work, right? Because then when they look at the summary, it should make sense. Gaps could use sealant, okay, and siding. Minor damage at siding and trim. Visible light at doors interior. Everything is super clear. So when you're writing that, keep that in mind. So the way I will do it is I'll start from the exterior. Now this is a new construction home, so everything's a little more detailed, obviously, because you're inspecting it with the perception that, hey, it's a brand new house. Things should be done right. So, when I put failed caulking, it's realistically, now I'm going to do a super thorough every little piece here. Whether you do that or not, anything that's really over 1/4 of an inch of a gap, you really should put failed caulking, especially in certain areas like these pipe protrusions, the areas where clearly water can get in. Even if it's sealed well with zip tape or whatever, you know how that stuff works. If they're going to have a leak, it's typically going to be at one of these openings. However, is it minor? Yes, caulking's typically always minor unless, it's really a large gap or you can justify it as moderate or something like that. So everything is labeled minor, moderate, or significant. So, and I do the bird's eye view because if you just say failed caulking, you're relying that the builder's going to go around the house, and you already did it. Just all you got to do is zoom out and take those photos. If you pinch your fingers on your phone, it'll zoom out for you, and then you can just really take pictures the way you want to. So if you are, and now as far as horizontal or any of that goes, if you just look right here, they all align the same. You know what I mean? So, even if you have a little bit of this, it really doesn't matter. You can do horizontal, vertical, whatever you want. But the biggest factor is just, do they know where to go? Because the builders, they're going to give it to a contractor, a handyman, whoever that's doing the caulking. And if you think that they're just going to figure it out for you, they won't, but obviously caulking is a bad example because it's so minor. Now, when it comes to minor, damage or whatever, use your opinion. Is it minor or moderate, or is it significant? Because what you write is what you're going to dictate pretty much what it is. You can change the narrative. So obviously, if I wrote damage to siding and trim, recommend repaired roofs, water intrusion, it can sound so much more than what it is. But, for this case, okay, you have a little bit of chipped edge at the fiber cement lap siding plank. The Z flashing's lifted here. That's all super minor. A little bowed here. Little nail sticking out. I tied that into this section too. So, if you just write the reports, you can use a template and then you can just add things on top of it, right? So I wrote, the Z flashing is bent in a few different areas, the left side of the window above the 2-car garage. It took me literally 5 seconds to write that. And I can have it all in one section. So you don't have to have it kind of bounced over here and here and a million discrepancies, but why I take the close-ups and then the bird's eye view. Number one, it gives everybody a clear description of what you're talking about. If you just write minor damage and they can't see that, then you know, they're going to have questions. You have to answer the questions for them. Number two is because I use these photos as my notes. So I don't have to necessarily write down everything, label everything, because when I take this picture, I know I took this one first and then I took this one second. So it's clear that this kind of damage is at the left side of the house. I don't, you know, nothing's labeled here because my pictures are so clear. You know, the report is the product. So when you're writing this, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be as detailed as mine, but you do have to understand that this is what we're selling. The report. You can, you know, have a great customer service experience, all those things, but it will be forgotten, because when the builder saying, you know, goes through this report, I promise you, they're not even going to read half of it. They're going to say, okay, minor damage. Okay. And then they're just going to hand these photos over and they're going to say, where is it? Right there. Cool. You know, obviously if it's something like a lot of windows or certain things, you can jumble that in, but a new construction, especially, you typically want to point, you know, all these areas out. Same thing, visible daylight doors interior. Again, you know, we're doing new construction, we're doing warranties. Be thorough because they're expecting thorough. They're going to see all these gaps. You know, they're going to see it and they're going to just say you missed it. Even if it's cosmetic, they'll say that. And that's not our job, but I will describe how easy this can be if you just follow these exact way of doing at least the photographs. So visible daylight doors interior, there's an example. Obviously a minor concern, nobody's going to freak out, but at least they, you know, out of town buyers, or if they're not there, most of the time they're not there in new construction, they can see, okay, this kind of gap is at the front door and the garage occupant door. Super easy to do. Misalignment at deadbolt assembly, if it has a function, take a video, because, you know, whether or not it's self-explanatory or not, it takes you literally to, you know, 5 seconds to do the video, and then you take a couple pictures. But that will give you the best overall look to the report, right? All right, they get it. Cool. I push it in, I can lock it. You know, it's also for my notes. I know exactly what the door is doing. You know, it gives the whole report a completely different look. Just get in the habit of this, because, you know, we can sell all the cool things we're going to, but at the end of the day, they will compare your report to the next company. That's just what they will do. If you it's very easy for everybody, you're going to be a great home inspector. If it's very difficult to read, the contractors can't see it. Number one, the contractors are just going to tell the agents, I don't know where this is, or they're going to disagree with you. They will say there's no leak. They will say that this is fine. So you show an example saying, is it? Because everybody can see that video. Nobody can see this, you know, like you can put that in there and it could be fixed after the fact. The builders could fix that right after you leave. Next thing you know, it works. Now you kind of just look like you're just putting stuff in the report, because it's like, it's fine to me. But if you put those examples, you're clearing all those questions. So as that 5 extra seconds will make it just a better product for everybody. Roof, okay, so, you know, same thing. So I'm going down the report. Okay, I can put this in here. If I need to delete something, you know, especially for like fridges, like we have these little comments in there that says fridge was functional. If you're not paying attention to that, you're going to put that the fridge is functional and there is no fridge. You know what I mean? It's just like you should pay attention to certain things. Not a big deal if you miss things like that. It's just it just can be easily reduced if you're doing this kind of system. Torn shingles, cool. Torn shingles, give a couple of examples. Where is it? It's by the dryer vent. Easy. You don't even have to explain. Okay, where's this little missing shingle? Here, got it. Done. Builders know, roofers know, clients know. It's good. If you just put this, nobody's going to know. And you're going to say they're going to get this roof had 3 different roofs on it. You had 2 one-story roofs and then the second-story roof. They're going to just hop all over this stuff to find it. They're just going to say, nah, you know, they're just going to ignore it. I promise you, they won't fix it if it's not easy for them. They won't. So, you know, so boom, it also gives proof. They can say, I didn't see it. It wasn't there. Nobody can argue this, right? Okay, so even some of it's minor. These are templates. Recommend removing the loose nails and debris on the roof. Okay, you know, it's not realistic to point all these out. So you can do your same thing. You can just take your close-up videos, a couple extra ones just to show like it's on the roof, you know, but yeah, so you don't have to do it on everything. Short gutter downspouts, got it, you know, extend them, no big deal. Garage floor cracks, cool. garage door concerns, visible daylight. Now, remember, when I'm doing this, there's not going to be templates for all this, or it only opened up 2 feet, so I tied this in with it, and I'm more of a take all the photos. I'm really at this house to document what I need to write the report, because when I'm writing the report, I can fly through this thing as long as I know what's going on. If you just take, like, say this picture, you did a lot that day and you just forget, okay, you don't even remember, right? I do that all the time. But if I have these, okay, there's obviously a gap there. Where? Right here. Boom, I can write that. Here's my video. I know exactly what happened later. Even if you say it's the next day, right? You're not going to remember it. And for me, I could write all this at the inspection, or I could just take the photos, videos, and then what's quicker, doing this, right? And you can do it that way too, but think about it. What's quicker? You're sitting there typing it. Sure, it's kind of done, but when you're realistically doing the report, what's faster? Because it's going to take you the same amount of time, whether you're typing it or you're doing it on the computer, except for this part. So what would I do faster? On the computer or on the phone, right? I can easily do it much quicker on the computer, and then I can boom, save, then go to the next comment. And that's what makes it so fast, because I can write all my discrepancies are right here. I can label everything if it's minor, just real quick. And these take you like 20 minutes. Okay, door doesn't latch properly. Got it. Video, I'm showing it. Because nobody understands. You're relying that it's common sense, but you're dealing with a world that doesn't have common sense. So you're just making it easy. It's like a picture book. Oh, cool. Okay, got it. What about foreigners? Foreigners aren't going to know what's going on, but every single person in the world can read a video. They can see the photos, right? So I zoom out with my fingers and I take a picture of the whole pantry. And now I needed to label this because I wasn't exactly sure, kitchen, pantry, but same thing, front right corner, guest bedroom. But sometimes if you have like a landmark, it's very easy, right? I have the top of the stairs, I have this bathroom. Clear. So when I take the photos, because it doesn't take any different amount of time. It's just, if you're going to take a photo, get the best angle, right? Zoom out, get some landmarks in there. So, obviously if it was just if I just showed the door, there's a million doors, but you get those landmarks, it's easy for everybody to see it. Again, you don't, certain things like drywall cracks, you don't necessarily have to do what I do and point it, but I like to put here's the drywall concerns. One thing, drywall concerns, cracks, damage, whatever, refer to pictures. You don't have to write all this nonsense. You just have to really document it. Just say what it is and put the photographs in there. Easy. If you see it, take a photo, throw an arrow up, or if it's like a ton, like drywall cracks or something, you can shorten that. You could take a few photos. I don't care there, but you know what I'm saying. Like get the actual discrepancies. Say for this one, right? Leak present under the sink. Upstairs guest bathroom. I have a video. I have where it is, because I know where it is. If you can figure it out, why make them search? Because I promise you, they're going to look under the sink. It might not be leaking. Sometimes it takes 3 minutes for it to leak. Sometimes it doesn't leak until you operate the drain plug, and then that is why it leaks, because it hasn't been touched in a long time. And then same thing, video here. Now, whether you just do the video in this picture, that's fine. But at least if you just do this, first of all, you're gonna make other people search for it, and then they might find the things that you missed. You're gonna have the agents look for it, and they might not find it, and then they might just think you're a bad inspector, right? Or they'll get it. But if you just get in the habit of this, it just so much better for the viewer, so much better for everybody. And it's just like you're causing the confusion because you're not taking the extra photo. Even if it's hard, it's it's just a photo. You just get in the habit of just going to the house, documenting what you need, and then write the report and trying to get the templates where you want to. You're going to do everything faster because you're going to be at these houses for a lot longer. If you're just photographing, making sure, and then going over it twice, you're going to have better inspections and a better report. Right. So, here's my thing. Like, okay, if I just say the downstairs water heater is inoperable, I throw this in there so that they see. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it makes it easy, right? Main water shut off valve submerged in dirt. If I just had this picture in there, They're gonna go search around, they're gonna be like, is this it? Nope, that's the clean out cap, right? You don't think that's gonna happen? 100%. And now there's all kinds of questions. The inspection was 2 weeks ago. Now you gotta pull the report up, all because you just didn't say, oh, let me take the picture right here. That's as easy as it really gets. Just, whether you do bird's eye close up or close up bird's eye, it doesn't matter. At least they'll know what's going on, right? It's got a bunch of bathrooms. Leaking tub spout, where is it? Upstairs guest bathroom. It just makes it super simple. Same thing. Loose outlet, where is it? I didn't necessarily have to label this. I see the stairs, I see the return vent. Here, I put upstairs common area when I was at the house, right in the report. Same thing with all these, condensing units not level. You can see it from the photo, then fine. One photo is okay. Point to it though, because they'll think it's both or whatever. You're there inspecting it. Do it. So say you have a bunch of discrepancies in one. You can make this 10 if you want, but it's just going to be kind of like a waste. The air conditioning doesn't work. So I just put all this in one section and then I wrote the report. So thermostat didn't work because the unit didn't have power. The insulation short at the suction line. All of this is disconnected. You don't have to necessarily be thorough or detailed, but even if you just do like some blanket statement and you don't really even describe every little thing, that's fine. Say the HVAC isn't fully installed, the air conditioner is inoperable, thermostats didn't show power, recommend further evaluation or repair. You can say that, and then you still include these photos. Well, that's okay, because at least the HVAC guy is going to say, okay, and he's going to know, right? So whether you even describe it in words, just take the photos. If you see things, just photo, and then it's good to go. Something that I like to do is if you find that dryer vent, try to take a picture of the dryer vent, because there's a lot of times those dryer vents have a lot of issues. So this will just ensure that at least we're looking out for it, because they could be out of sight, out of mind if they're on the roof and you're not paying attention. Right. So, and then you could just use your opinion. So dented dishwasher, is that really anything bigger than minor? No, it's minor, so, and that could be for anything. Sharp screws at the breaker panel. If there's plenty of room and those sharp screws aren't going to penetrate a wire, and that, and you're putting those screws back, I call that minor, because you're just replacing screws at that point. If it's near a wire, make it moderate. If it's very close to that wire, you can make it significant, right? But just because there's a template with something that says minor or moderate already in there, it just depends on each item. I mean, you can have minor siding damage to significant siding damage. So it's just going to depend. You're going to have to use your own opinion, and that's what home inspections are. They're your opinion, so use them. So you get the point on the pictures. Close up, bird's eye view. Even if it's this, it just looks better. It looks, and we're dealing with builders that don't know what they're doing, contractors that don't know what they're doing, home buyers that have no idea about houses. So all you're really saying, problem here. It's just that 2 photo minimum thing, plus take some videos to give us this product, because I can put all this stuff together with all this marketing. But remember, this is the product, this is what they're judging. So unless you want to be known as, the inspector that makes it very difficult for everybody, they're going to move to another inspector. That's, they're going to go to another company. If we want to retain these people, just make it dummy proof. Make it as dummy proof as possible. It doesn't have to be as detailed as mine, or even at all. But if you can at least just make a blanket statement, even if you say, put tub spout was dripping continuously after the shower handle was turned off, or just leaky tub spout at the upstairs guest bathroom, recommend repair. That's fine. If you can just do something short, whatever, because you have a video and you have a picture. So there's no arguing. It's very clear, right? So it's either you're going to write it, make it super detailed enough so that somebody can read it and figure it out, or at least take a video or a few pictures, so that way, you don't even have to say much, because it's common sense at that point. But it's just very easy for contractors. I never get questions or calls for the most part, because I'm thinking about their questions for it, right? So if I see some like low voltage wires going crazy at the left side of the house, I still take a picture and put it in an informational comment. Low voltage wires, not a shock hazard. we don't inspect it, whatever, but at least you're answering that question for them, because it'll take you literally 10 seconds, because it's once the photo's in there, all you're doing is putting that in real quick, and what now let's just get through writing the report, right? So let's just say, I have an issue with this leak under the sink, right? So you don't have to use this home inspector terminology all the time. You can literally say a leak noted under the guest bathroom sink, or we can just even say bathroom sink if you have it well documented. Bathroom sink. Recommend further evaluation and repair. Whatever, right? It doesn't matter. You can save that, move on to the next one. Boom. So the difference is of you just doing it here. Now this one, you can organize it. So and you're just only doing a few comments, right? So it's because a lot of these will have the templates. Like I could have merged this into one. I didn't there, so it's just, there's not definite rules on everything. It's just a good idea to have this system, because I promise you, you're going to forget to label it. You will forget to, you have this, you're going to forget what's going on. The pictures, you don't really need, you can see it and then you can write it. You don't have to even say right side of the house sometimes, because it's so clear that it's self-explanatory. I mean, if you just did this, then you have to put it. But now if you forget it, which will happen, of course, now it's just they're on a search for this pipe. Now the pipe could be buried under the ground. It could be gone. They could add mulch, right? They could think it's a clean out cap. Next thing you know, they're opening the clean out cap to find the main water shut, and they're just sticking their hand in doo-doo, right? All because of one photo. So just get in the habit. When you're writing it, don't be afraid to just use your normal words. In this whole home inspector terminology that like the associations teach, it's almost useless because nobody knows what you're talking about. Just write as you're speaking. Don't overthink it. It's really that simple. The door pictured below does not latch properly, right? Okay. So you're writing what does it do, or what's the problem? Door doesn't latch properly, and then you could say recommend adjustment to allow for proper function. Any of that. Let's say shingle damage, right? A torn shingle noted at the left side of the roof. Recommend further evaluation and repair. And then it's really good to just use some adjectives. So when you're doing it, you can say a minor shingle tear, a moderate shingle tear, a partial shingle tear. So you're giving a little bit of description. If you're writing it, right, you can say there was a leak present under the sink, or you can say a minor leak, but that will really paint the picture better, and it will just make something that's not a big deal into a very minor concern. So you're not making something a bigger deal than it is, right? So I keep, whether it's new construction or not, if it's minor, it's minor. That's why I'll put torn shingles here, and I write exactly what's going on. And so in this report, it's 21 minor, 8 moderate. So I'm only doing the things that I really think are a moderate deal. Anything that's minor, most of it is all minor. I'm gonna use my honest opinion. So you can have bent Z flashings and all these things. You can make that moderate, but in my opinion, it was minor because they're probably just gonna bend it back. So, deadbolt assembly is difficult to lock. That's minor, and then you got your torn shingles, right? And I missed one here. It's more of a moderate one. You could just write torn shingles noted and missing shingle noted on the roof. Recommend further evaluation and repair. You don't have to say left side of the roof, this or that, but if you have the photos pointing to it, it makes it easy. Because if you don't, they're going to go on a scavenger hunt for this. You're just really not doing the client any service if you know where it is. If you truly, and a lot of people say, well, I didn't walk all areas, so I don't want to point out every little thing. Doesn't matter. Still do the arrows to where and then you could still say further evaluation. Say I couldn't walk anywhere. That's fine, but at least you're pointing them in the right direction. If you just do this and you just say torn shingles and you just have one photo, they're gonna think you missed it anyway, right? They're gonna be like, well, there's this and that and this. So it's a lose-lose. At least just do your normal thing so you can write the report. There's no questions. You don't have to sit there and talk to the client. You don't have to make things difficult. You know what I mean? So just you could do that if it was just the visible daylight, like it's common sense. You could see everything, makes sense, right? But there's typically multiple issues with everything. So like right here, all right, and then this cleared up right at the end of the inspection. I still put in the report because I don't know that it's going to happen again. So it stopped, right? I have a video of it showing the problem. So I just showed it. Now that garage door is working now. It was working at the end. It like got stuck, right? But if you just say that it got stuck and then it's working, you're gonna kind of look dumb, right? It's like it works, or they're just they can't read your mind. But if they see the video, it's very clear, So if you just get in these habits of doing it that way, I promise you we'll have a better product. Not all the time. I understand it doesn't always have to be like that, but if you have, look, one video of the door not latching right and the rest are just kitchen pantry, and then zooming out so you can see the whole bedroom. So just you're trying to take all those questions because and if not, you're really just kind of like lazy to take a photo. But the photos are the fastest way to do it. It's the fastest way, I promise you. It's just the best way. You won't miss a bunch of things this way. You will miss it if you're trying to do it writing it on the house. You're going to miss a ton of stuff because you don't have enough time. You're not going to be at the house for 4 hours. And if you are at a new construction house for 4 hours, you're just wasting your own time, because if you just go there, take the photos, organize what you need in the report so you can just write it. You're going to write the report for 20 minutes. It'll take you an extra 55 minutes to write it on the phone. And you're going to miss so many things just from trying to do it. Now, another issue with trying to find a perfect template, right, is if you go around the house and you find a little damage, you write it. Well, then you find a little more damage and a little more damage, and then you find a whole loose one, and then you can't. Now you're trying to add things to it as you go, so it doesn't align right. So if you just have drywall concerns, just take all the pictures of drywall cracks, the damage, whatever. Even if it's something baseboard damage, you can tie it in, right? So that's why it's just so much better just to put it somewhere. The templates, if it hits a template, you don't have to write it, right? It's good. But if you have to adjust, okay, then you just add to that template. It's super quick. Now with new construction, I'm just putting out kind of the discrepancies that you think. Now there's a section called components not installed. No quarter round trim. Okay, cool, got it. See, I took the close-ups where I don't even have to say exactly where it is. It's right there. No quarter round trim. Some missing doorknob. All right, closet wall shelving is not installed all the way in certain areas. All in one section. Those aren't done. One thing, there's a template in there. You can select it. Cosmetics. You can put all these cosmetics in one. Now I just take pictures of the cosmetics so I know and people can see, right? House wrap under the siding. You don't have to explain all this. You just have to take photos though on new construction. That way it clears out the question of, well, why isn't this in the report? It's obviously labeled cosmetics. You're taking pictures. Now this part, you definitely don't have to point everything out. You can't, it's too much. So you just take general photos. Okay, it's dirty, needs paint, got it. Grout imperfections, got it. I'm not pointing everything out. I might put a little arrow showing the grout, but I'm not going to point that out. Okay, paint. I didn't show any other picture besides this. So what I do is I do the full inspection, your job, right? The normal things you're supposed to look out for. Now we're not supposed to look at cosmetics, but now I just do. But when I'm leaving, the last thing I do, I shut the lights off, I turn the thermostat down, all that stuff, and I just take pictures of every little thing I see, right? Just picture, all in like one block, right in one cosmetic section. Take the photo, scuffs on the cabinet, you know what I mean? Just stuff that you already know they're going to say. Uneven air vents, okay. You know what I mean? It just makes it easy. You won't get that question. So now it looks like you did a super thorough job, and all you're doing is just taking pictures in one thing that says cosmetics all over, or components not installed. So you don't have to have 10 different discrepancies on things that aren't installed, but you do want to put it somewhere, because again, nobody's going to know that it's not installed when they move in. If you have when they install it, right, and then there's a bunch of damage to the siding, and you just say, well, of course they're going to put it in, and they mess up. Well, it's just like they're going to say no or this, or they're not going to read the report, or they're just going to assume you're missing it. If it's in here though, and you say, look, it wasn't done when I inspected it, it's everything's so transparent. So that's why you really want to do it this way. Scroll down the PDF, do this, you can kind of see, all right, cool, I need to write this, or you can adjust. and you could just go down the report. If you do 1-2 home inspections, trust me, if I just did it all at the house, I would do 5 a day. If I could just do it all there, I would do 5 a day, be making a ton of money. But the problem is that you won't get any business from that. You won't, because the reports are bad. They're just not, they're not enough. You know what I mean? Compared, like if the agent then uses me and I have all these photos and make it very easy for them, they're probably not going to use you again, right? They're going to use the one that's the easiest possible. So it's just getting a habit, because it's really just taking a few photos. That's it. Super simple. As long as you practice it, so obviously things like wear and tear, some of these things on a template, it's a new construction, so you don't put that in there. And then that's just new houses. So we don't do cosmetic or anything, and we're definitely not this nitpicky or thorough on anything on older houses. It's just a new construction example. So that's the way that I do it. You can do it whichever way. However, the only thing that I would say that we have to do is take this photo sequence, right? Show the dent. Don't just take that picture. You just got to take that one. Put the arrow, because you'll get all these questions, and it's just a little bit easier for everybody. If you can fit it in there like I did here, yeah, okay, got it. But if you need a little more explanation on it, okay, a loose outlet, right? Obviously, super minor. If you miss that, it's not a big deal. But you should want to put it in new construction, because that's what you're there for. You're trying to find these things for them, and sometimes there's not a lot. So to have that extra photo in there is easy. You see how I zoomed out, I found some landmarks, I saw the railing, the return vent, so I can easily make that super easy for the builder, and because I want them to fix it, right? All right. So here's an older house. No, so that's new construction. Older house is similar. Again, the brick was loose. I took a video, and I pointed location out. Then I also tied in structural cracks, because on the brick, right? So you can just go to structural section and make this separate too. But I just said, all right, there's a loose brick. You can just write a loose brick noted at the front of the house, and some cracked brick joints noted in areas around the house. That's fine, or in areas, whatever. Recommend repointing the brick joints with additional mortar or whatever, and then monitoring the settlement periodically. Whatever you want to say, we'll monitor the settlement. Appeared okay during the inspection. You don't have to make anything sound great. You just have to kind of answer their questions for them, right? So it's like, if there's settlement, you say there's settlement cracks, recommend repair, right? And you're opening the door for a structural engineer to come that could blow the whole thing open, right? Or structural contractors say, nope, we need to jack it up, we need to do all this. That they wouldn't even call them if you just say it appeared okay, appeared minor settlement cracks, instead of just whatever, moderate settlement cracks, appeared okay to monitor, but it is recommended to seal the cracks to reduce water seepage. Anything like that. It just doesn't have to be rocket science, but you do want to answer those questions, because you don't think, if you tell them there's settlement cracks, that they're going to have additional questions. And if you don't say anything, then they're going to be freaking out, because they don't know anything about house. So your narrative is going to dictate what it is, right? So if I said there's a significant structural concern, then it's a significant structural concern. Everybody's going to go off that. If I said, no, that's completely normal, minor, don't worry about it, just seal it, it'll be fine, then that's what it is, right? So you're the inspector, they're all going to believe you. They're not going to just come up with something else. They have no idea. So you have the power to call that minor, moderate, significant, whatever. You're just monitored, or you recommend having a structural engineer look at it. It's these things are like on every house. So they can be a template. They are on a template, but at least if you're pointing it out, seeing things, and just because you put this photo and then there's all these other areas, it's okay that you missed it. You don't have to say recommend further evaluating and repair, or further evaluating other areas and repair. That stuff's all fine, but as long as you're kind of like just aware of that, then it's not gonna make a difference. All right, this is why I just like to jumble stuff. Like if I see, multiple window screens are missing in areas, that's such a minor thing. I don't have to point out every missing window screen, but I just added the door screen, right? So I just put, and then I just added to that template, and torn window door screens. So I just kind of added a couple of words to make it fit what I'm doing. I do it on the computer, so it takes me 2 seconds, cool. exterior doors pictured below, bird's eye close up. Got it. Where is it at? Because, or if you don't do the close up, sometimes they'll just say, I don't see it. So you kind of point them right where they need to. Torn window screen or torn soffit screen. Got it. So now they can see, say that they're not at the house. They're really not going to understand that, but if they see this, they say, okay, that's not a big deal. Right. Same thing here. I tied this in and then I added this pipe. Like if you just don't say anything but this pipe running down, you don't think they're going to have that question. And then they're just going to say, why didn't the inspector put it in there? Even though it's not our job, they don't know that. They're going to read the contract to figure it all out. They're going to read the standards of practice. Of course not. So you can just take something and then say, there's also a pipe in the backyard. Didn't know what this was. Recommend asking the seller for additional info. Takes you 2 seconds. You got the photo. If you just don't do it though, then you're opening up a can of worms. Like if something's so obvious like that, you have to put that in the report. You know what I mean? If you're not doing the boat dock, it doesn't really matter. Will they care about that? Yes, they're gonna want that boat dock thing. It's all damaged. You can even just I wrote the dock at the supposed to be pond shows obvious damage. You could just say obvious damage noted. Recommend repair. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be these lengthy things like I write. Although I like to use descriptions, you can just say obvious damage at the boat dock, at the rear of the house, whatever. Recommend repair for safety. There's also a pipe at the rear of the house that goes towards the pond. I didn't know. I couldn't figure out what this pipe was for. Didn't appear to be active. Recommend asking the seller for additional info. Done. Next one. Typical concrete cracks template. Take pictures where? Because if you just take one photo and then there's ones in the back and then all they're gonna do is look at the pictures, right? And they say, okay, typical concrete cracks. If you just don't do it, it looks like you missed it. You know what I mean? Whether it says areas not, and all it is for you is taking one extra photo. Negative slopes in the grade, got it, And I missed areas here. There's kind of all over the place. But something minor, you don't necessarily have to be exact, but get, maybe the bigger areas at least. Leaky handle, that's super minor, but it sounds bad, right? So I take the video, I show a little leak, and I put the arrow. I do the video, this picture and that when I can, but even if you did the video and then this picture, that's fine too. But at least it gives them a description of what it actually is. Big leaks, right? So, everybody should find that. Torn shingle, okay. Now these ones right here, you really need to kind of, if you're in the attic, like say right in the garage, right? I even try to take that bird's eye view here, or you should really do this, right? So if there's a satellite dish and you can see it in the attic, and I saw all this from the access. I didn't go, climbing in the attic. I just stood there. I looked around, saw that, zoomed in for this photo, saw the screws coming from the satellite bracket, boom, right there. Easy, right? So you can do that. Now, if you just take this picture right here and just say, now you're going to have the roofer's got to go in the attic, and then the client's going to go in the attic, the listing agent's going to call the seller's not going to know, that they got to call the roofer doesn't know. Now they're calling you don't know because you took this photo. Now you just didn't really, and all you had to do is say, okay, is it the right side of the house and around this area at least, you know what I mean? If there's no satellite dish, whatever, if it's decay and damage, it's a bigger deal. That's the one you really need to put at least some emphasis on. And you should be able to know, is that coming from the roof? You know what I mean? Like you have to give them something. Don't just say leak noted, right? Even though it's so obvious, if it's just in the attic, I promise you that they will not know exactly what it's. People that know, sure, but you're dealing with people that don't know. You're dealing with real estate agents. You're dealing with accountants buying a house. You're not dealing with contractors buying a house. And even sometimes, and the roofers don't even know half the time. Because I stood on this roof, it looked fine. I saw this I even tugged on the satellite dish because that's what I always do. Because it's such a high point of leakage. But I saw it in the attic. Boom. I didn't have to really think. Because and then even if say it was a new roof, this stuff's on there. It's just water stains. Then you could say couldn't reach with a moisture meter. The roof's newer, but I cannot confirm that it's an active not. Anything's fine as long as you're giving them something. You gotta give them what's really going on. So all I'm doing, taking photos, got it, and then it's easy, right here, garage door operator concerns, showed a picture, it was loud, tied that in with this damaged button, call it garage door operator concerns. I put this part and then I say that's a little noisy. Even if you wrote a little noisy, recommend servicing, but the video is going to show that. So you don't necessarily need to say that much, but if you just take this picture and this and don't take the video, they're like, how noisy is it? What, is it minor? What's the deal? You know what I mean? Or you can just take it and then, I don't know if you can hear this, but it's screeching. So it's like, okay, got it. It just makes it easy. So get in that habit. You already know these things. Whatever, TPR valve doesn't drain by gravity, so it slopes up vertically, and it's PVC. Well, I just use this template, and then I wrote the piping's also made of PVC, not a hot water rated material. Recommend replacing with hot water rated material. Whatever, no dryer vent cover. You can use basic things, but again, just one of these, that's fine. So I tend to take a few more than I probably need to, but as long as you're doing this, you're good to go. You can just, and then you could, if you do this, then you can just say no dryer vent, recommend repair, right? But you should elaborate when you need to. You can get away with being vague when you can, right? So aged windows present. You can just kind of tie this in there with whatever, explain it due to their age, whatever. Fogged windows, multiple fogged windows noted, take some photos. Cool. Door rubs against the frame, got it. In this one, front guest bedroom, cool. But if you just have an arrow pointing to this, because they're going to look at, they're not even, you think you're just going to see this? Just one arrow, that part of you just doing that is just leading them to the right direction. And then explain what's going on, you know what I mean? That's those little details. You could write water damage, all this stuff, swollen, damaged laminate flooring. So in an older house, we're doing general wear and tear. So I understand it could be a lot, like you're putting all that stuff in, but if you at least just take the photos and document what you need, it doesn't matter which way you do it, but you should, your whole goal is you should at least be taking photos of what you're seeing. You know what I mean? General wear and tear. Okay, blinds fall down. Whether it's our job to do blinds or not, of course, you don't have to put the blinds. It's a furnishing. It's not part of our job. But if you can just throw it in there in general wear and tear, and you don't even say anything, just show general wear and tear. You're just taking photos now. It's just reducing a question. It's like, look, we're not here for that. Cool. You know what I mean? But throw it in the general wear and tear comment. You could do the outside stuff, the inside stuff. Just because something's on the outside, you want to put it in the inside. Who cares? Just make sure those photos are there, so you don't have to answer questions. Sunken in outlets. See, this is fine, but if you would have took one close up of that one showing it sunken in and then backed up, it just paints a better picture, because you're like, all right, you're just saying, here it is, it's minor, no big deal, got it. Although you don't have to do it on the little ones, that's okay. Worn insulation on the suction line, cool. You can take that photo, but are they going to know where that is? They don't even know what it is. So it's like, you just do that and then this. Okay, got it. So you're saying problem here, right? This one you can get by, dirty condensation dry pump. Do you have to show the inside? No, it's kind of, but at least you could see it all. So, it's not saying it has to be on everything, but you just want to get in that habit. Disposal not functional, right? See, if I'm writing the report, I'd see this corrosion here, and then I'd put a comment, right? Because if you see that there, that's probably going to leak. That's what those seams are doing. The seams are failing. So, and I didn't see that at the inspection, but I saw that with that photo. Oh, maybe I will write something saying could leak. Didn't see a leak. It could leak in the future, though. You know what I mean? Got it. Anti-bracket, right? If you do that, then, and that bracket's inside, take the picture of the bracket so they have a good idea. You know what I mean? And all these other pictures are great, but, and this is perfect right here. Okay. Leak here, right? And so the picture's there. You can kind of see it, and then that's fine. Put it under the sink. But if it's just that video and you miss the thing, now number one, it's a few days later they're asking you that question. I don't remember. I think it's this, and then you're like wrong, just because you're not in the habit of taking the photos. Grout and shower drain. Okay, if I just take this picture, I'm like, what? But this picture just shows what you're saying. You know what I mean? And even if you wrote grout and shower drain, recommend clearing it. That's fine as long as you have the photos, right? If you just do this and then you say it's clogged, But you're not really given the full, you're not making it clear because it wasn't clogged. It was still draining fine. It just, but you know what I mean? So, but you're also kind of covering your butt. Like if I see original copper pipes, right? These pipes are going through slab, you know, that the house is 33 years old. I'm just telling them to monitor it. So I'm not saying to do anything, but if it has original copper pipes, you want to tell them to at least monitor it because you know they're going to get a slab leak in a few years or soon. You know, all you're doing is saying, yeah, most people replace their copper pipes because of slab leaks. So you're just kind of, there's a template. If it has copper pipes, you got to put that in there. If it's got galvanized pipes, they should replace it, should be in red. Polybutylene pipes, of course. Lead pipes, of course, those are big deals. They should be replaced. Cast iron drain pipes always have to have a comment of that. If it has cast iron and you're not putting it in the report, and there's a cast iron drain pipe saying just have a plumber scope it, or because then you're asking problems. Because when that house backs up from blockages and up from those old drain pipes, and then they have a flood and they can't use their shower, oh, they're coming for you because they're pissed. You know what I mean? So, especially now you have cast iron, you know, in a slab house, and it's from the 1950s or 60s. It's like, how do you fix that? Well, you have to clear out some of that corrosion, then reline it. It's a huge deal. They can't even get to those pipes, you know, so they have to reline them and all these things or replace them. That's such a big thing, you know. And so if you see a house that's built before 1975, you should say, I'm going to go find those cast iron drain pipes. So you can see them from the plumbing vent pipes. If it doesn't have a permit, you can say it. You typically see it through the laundry room drain. You know what I mean? There's a million ways to potentially see. And if you're not even, sometimes I'll say something because it's like, I don't want to deal with that because they will have a problem. And you know they're going to have a problem with those cast iron drain pipes, at least eventually. You know, all the photos are great because you can kind of just do a quick look. If you see something like, you know, in these photos, and you know, it could save you from a bad review or a lawsuit or whatever those cases are. At least you're doing your due diligence. You know, whether we're perfect or not, it doesn't really matter. Some of the stuff you can be vague, this, that, you can type things in. If it's like a million things and you don't necessarily want to be that, whatever, then put it in wear and tear, right? If the sink's missing a drain plug, wear and tear. If it's like a bad house, you know what I mean? You know, wear and tear, the toilet paper's loose, wear and tear. You know what I mean? You could put all this stuff in there. Even if you want to do exterior and on a bad house, if you just get in the habit of writing some stuff, then you don't even have, you say don't even do caulking, and you say there are also many areas that could use caulking around the house. No photos, but you put it there. You know, so it's like you don't have to necessarily point out every piece of failed caulking. You just say, and there's a bunch of areas of failed caulking or whatever. In this comment, that's good because it's like in the siding section. Or, and if you have a real bad house, you take all this stuff, put it in one comment. I've done ones with 40 photos. They're all going to line up anyway. And then you can just write, hey, look at the photos. Damage dock noted to the dock. House is in bad condition. Gaps could use sealant. Damage under the siding. Blah, blah, blah. All in one comment. You're done, right? It's torn soffit screens. It doesn't matter if it's not under eave section. You could put it in siding, flashings, and trim. It'll be fine. You know, but if you want to reduce it, right? So if I have a bad house, I'm taking all the electrical stuff, boom, here's your electrical stuff, your exterior stuff, your roof stuff, kind of jumbling it around because otherwise you're just trying to find a template here. It's taking you longer than it really needs to because you just don't want to write the right way. But if you just write it and just say what it is, all you're doing is saying it and typing it. You don't have to use home inspector terminology here. You just say this, then you write further evaluation repair. That's the easiest way. If you don't know what something's called, call it what you think it is, right? The siding, the whatever, you can get the component pictured below. You can BS any of that stuff. So, you know, you just have a plumber, but you have photos of it. If it looks messed up, take a photo because if you think it looks messed up and you don't know what it is, you better believe that the clients or the agent, they're gonna do the same exact thing. So you can kind of do that, or you can take the photos, label the photos, right? Missing window screens here under one thing, there's general wear and tear, and you could just have that. As long as you're just kind of putting your effort in, then you're good. Now, we don't do cosmetics, so that's only on warranties and new construction, but you can throw, say in this one, under wear and tear, then you can do that, right? So you can just kind of jumble up general wear and tear. All right, so just to give this kind of a rundown, so you get what I'm trying to say, you know, as far as make it easy for people. You jumble this stuff, doesn't matter. The little stuff's the little stuff. You can do all that, you know. Even if, you know, say you're at an old house, it's got a ton of things, use the wear and tear section. You can put a bunch of these, you can put all these, most of these things in probably general wear and tear, right? So you could put, this, you could add caulking, whatever to this section, you're gonna just add a couple things to it. But the whole thing is we're just trying to document as much as we can, whether it's photos, words, whatever. Or, you're trying to paint that picture how you truly want them to perceive it, right? So if you have all these little items and it's like, this is insane, sure, jumble the aged windows, got it. Jumbled, you can be vague when it's like a ton of things, but if it's generally like, okay, whatever, certain things are only one, we'll show the location. You can, like, swollen floors, right? I'm not gonna point out every area there, because it's laminate floors, like a lot of the seams are like that, but I said that they don't handle water well. There's a template for that, but and then I just took these photos at least. I didn't even put arrows here because I'm like, I don't want, but you get the point, you know what I mean? You got bad floors, don't call me, you know what I mean? Don't call me about your floors because they're gonna say this is water damage. I want all new floors. Here's your shitty floors, laminate. Here you go, right? General wear and tear. Now this stuff you could put, even if you want to put all these in wear and tear. Door missing hardware, bifocal doors, door rubs against the frame. Okay, well then you're saving time without having to do all this, and you just put it on general wear and tear. But you might want to at least have the photos saying, okay, front guest room or whatever, and then you could say multiple door issues. You can do any of that stuff. I would try to lead them in the right direction though. Try to put that arrow right here just to give an example, but minor stuff's the minor stuff, not a big deal. The only thing I get concerned with is just missing big items or not being clear enough to where 2 weeks later we're getting phone calls asking about this and that, and then nobody knows, including the inspector that inspected it, right? If you just have these basic understandings of it, no matter if you get a question from a year from now, 2 years from now, the lawsuit 5 years from now, you know what I mean? You have something to go by. So the little stuff's the little stuff. You can jumble that, even if you miss certain things, okay, let them be minor, but you have to be paying attention to the ceilings, the floor, the foundation, the HVAC, make sure you're getting those items. And then we're gonna explain again, what's the client's question? What are they concerned with? They're concerned with the roof. If you have a shingle roof that's 15 years old, you better make something saying that it's aged. You know what I mean? You have to answer that question for them. You have an older roof, expect to, budget for future replacement, might be hard to get insurance, whatever. You can just say that. That's anything along those lines, but you do want to tell them it's an older roof. If it's a water heater that's over 10 years old, you should be calling it an older water heater. There's templates or narratives for this, but you should be telling them, hey, you got an older water heater. If an HVAC unit is 12 years or older, you should be saying, hey, you have old HVAC units. And the way that is, if you just go to HVAC comments or something that says general condition or whatever, you can or under condensing unit or air handler, and you can just say older HVAC units. So even if you're in the air handler section and you see this first and you write older air handler, or just say older HVAC units, then just take a picture of the condensing unit too, older condensing unit. And if there's no picture, that's fine. If it's just like, but you should just put that picture in there so they can see it in that one section. Not that it's a big deal, but it's also not a big deal for you to just put the picture in there either. So it's just but the big thing is you're calling it out. Okay, 12-year-old air conditioning units are 15 or 20 years old. Like, they need to know that stuff because it's a lot of money. So they what they care about. They care about the roof, they care about the foundation, they care about the plumbing, they care about the big stuff. When does anybody ever say, hey, are my baseboards good? When do you hear that, right? So you can tie that into general wear and tear, but you need to really focus on the AC, the roof, the structure, you know what I mean? And as far as structural goes, is the roof structure pulled down? Does it show anything besides unlevel floors? And if it's not, you can just do some vague things here and there to like at least let them know, because if they do see that dip in the floor, of course they're gonna have that question. Wouldn't you, if you didn't know anything about houses and you just stepped on and you bought a new house and it's got this weird slope? Yeah, of course you got to say something. You know what I mean? Like if you see it, they see it. If you know, and when it comes to those blatantly obvious things, you know, you can get by with say not being as thorough in say the attic, you know, but you definitely at least all around that attic hatch, you need to be really looking, you know what I mean? Because we can say, well, we didn't feel safe going all the way that deep in the attic. That's understandable. There's nothing, you know, there's no crazy liability there. However, you know, if we're just looking at like the roof, you know, say you just put a ladder here and you didn't get on the roof. Well, you know, that's fine, but you will have to take that ladder and put it all around. You got to at least do your due diligence, because even if you look, the roof was fine. I mean, the shingles were good, but boom, I go in there and I'm like, all right, well, it's still got 2 separate roof leaks and then shingle damage here from something hitting that, you know, and that's all just, you know, just from, it's very easy to miss it, but at the same time, you know, I'd rather more attention be on things that people are going to care about, less attention on these bullshit items, you know what I mean? And so, you know, but you know, drywall cracks, whatever, you don't have to be super thorough. You don't have to point everything out, right? You can just put all the drywall in one thing. If you know, and if it's cracks, you can even put that in an informational comment. If it's damaged though, and they cut out the whole drywall and it's just showing the framing, oh, you got to say something, because whether it's cosmetic, not whatever, they're just going to say, wow, my drywall's missing. You know how it goes. You want to jumble all the door stuff into one thing, that's fine. You know, put it all under wear and tear, that's fine. You know, multiple door concerns or general wear and tear, all good. But the obvious stuff, this stuff that you know that they're going to care about just aesthetically, you got to do something there, you know. And you could do, like I just said, swollen and damaged laminate floors, they don't handle water well. Obviously that's near an exterior door from wind driven rain. I didn't even describe that to a degree. Like I could have said a lot more, but it's like you get, you know, they get the point. And you know, I don't need to point out every area here, but you see how I did take the extra photos though, not only to show them that it's, you know, hey, I'm not pointing it out, but that you're going to have it in other areas, but for myself as well. When I write the report, I know to not just say the door, because I forget, you know, I do 3 a day when I'm writing the reports after it's all said and done. I'm like, I don't even really remember it. So I don't even have to remember anything from the inspection, because my things are so well detailed on my picture taking that I'm like, it's all good. You know what I mean? I don't go and read the manufacture date. I don't. I just take the photo because I have it later, and I actually write and I look at everything while I'm doing it, you know, and I can blast through the report because I'm really efficient at it. Why am I so efficient at reports and writing? Because I've done this for 8 years the harder way. And, you know, and so now I'm just I'm just so much more efficient with organizing how discrepancies. Like I've been using these templates from Lens Pro, and I'm not familiar with one bit, but I'm so familiar with having this jumbled mess in certain areas that at least I can really maneuver well. You know what I mean? Like some of those templates, I have a million of the same templates in my personal template from before. But even, you know, I'm still now just, I still can freehand everything, you know what I mean? Because, you know, and so just because you start to get it after a while, and the more you're writing, the easier it is, because you know, you realize that you don't need to use proper terms. You don't have to say recommend repair by qualified contractor, because it's saying qualified professional. So you can cut that out, and it sounds pretty redundant if you just keep doing it. Qualified person, qualified contractor, roofer, especially when it's like complete bullshit item. It's like they don't need a contractor for that, nor you know they're not going to get a contractor. So if you got a little tiny bit of damage and it says qualified professional on a little bit of drywall damage that's literally like a quarter of an inch big, like they don't need a qualified contractor for that. So it's like, you know, use those little adjectives and those little minor things to paint the picture. You know, you could, you know, they're going to believe you on everything you do. So realistically, you should be going in there saying, okay, well, before you're even doing the home inspection, you say, all right, I'm in a 1950s house. This is what I need to get, or at least verify that's good before I leave. Does it have cast iron drain pipes? How's the structure? Does it have some settlement cracks? Not just because you want to inform them, but you want to cover your ass because of every house has got more settlement cracks than you need to. And if you say, hey, just to monitor it, then that's fine. But if you say nothing and then a structural contractor looks at it, and of course they're only there because they want to make money, so they're not going to say, oh, it's good to go. Here's your free quote that we wasted our time for. They're probably going to give a $10,000 quote to fix it, right? So you want to be aware of those. You know, when I go into a 1920s house, I'm not leaving until I find some termite damage and some structural concerns and some crawl space stuff. Because no matter if I miss 10 things in a crawl space, if I get 2 of them and I say further erosion and repair, and I'm saying, hey, yeah, you have decay, you have mold, you have cast iron drain pipes, you have termite damage, even though if it's on a WDO inspection or not, it's like you got to be able to identify termite damage in 1920s house. That's you have to. Doesn't matter even if the WDO inspector puts it, it should be in your report. I mean, it has to be almost. It's like because that shit is everywhere, all over the place. And so when they're doing remodeling, they're like, "What the fuck?" You know what I mean? That's how it all starts. So cover your ass, go in there. It's super easy. And if you don't know, just ask the question. If you don't like that, that's what I would like. It's like, hey. I'm not sure what this is, Jordan. Do you know what that is? Troy, do you know what that is? Juan, do you know what that is? You know what I mean? Any of that stuff, we're sharing that info. You should never be afraid. There's no questions here. No, it doesn't matter. Everybody is gonna still be learning. I'll learn for the rest of my life because there's too much in houses. I mean, you might think you know everything, and it's like that's just because it's only going on in your brain. You think you're covering it all until you meet with this siding company, and then they're like, nope. And then they're explaining, you know what I mean? So it's your mind can be your own worst enemy, but when you're doing these inspections, you just really need to say, all right, these are the areas that I should have in my report type. From my experience, this is what's going to cause problems for them in the future, right? So if you have wood siding, you need to have some things in the siding because it's probably a hunk of shit. You know what I mean? They'll probably have a bunch of leaks going inside the wall. If you're in a 1920s house with the original siding and you don't say anything about the siding, that house has to be re-sided. You know, the wood siding's not supposed to last 100 and whatever years. You know, so it's like, of course, there's leaks in every day, and when it rains going into those walls. So you got to have enough. You have to understand like that's going to cause issues. Like all those little gaps. There's no weather barrier. There's no sheathing half the time. It's just water seeping right in. It's just hardwood, so it kind of drains down. There's no insulation. So it doesn't like cause as much damage as say it would on a newer house, but you know, years and years, then they start ripping the siding back and it's a whole thing. So you're covering your ass by saying, all right, the old siding, I don't care if it looks perfect or not, I'm saying something. Older crawl space, don't care, I got to say something, right? You know, and if you think it's really clean, that's a very rare thing. Like if I go to a 1950s house with a clean crawl space, I'm amazed. Because because it's there somewhere, right? So, you know, whether you catch it or not, you really need to look out for those cast iron drain pipes for the structural concerns. You know, if a house is shifted like this in a 1920s house and you don't say anything, that is negligent. That you will lose that lawsuit. If the house is like this, you can't, you know what I mean? It's and then you would say it's been previously repaired, but it's out of your scope, you know, to make sure everything's perfect, whatever, you know. And if you need help, and even if you're in an overwhelming mess and like, I don't know how to word this, just say, hey, Jordan, I'll write it for you. I will write all of it for you. You know what I mean? You have a big jumbled mess. You're like, I need help. Cool. I'm a worker. This is Sunday. I'm videotaping this so I can have training. I'm a workaholic. Okay. I'll make sure that and I will always take that extra burden. If you look at everything I'm doing all the harder work. I would love for you guys to have the time off and all this thing. So, you know, so you can enjoy it. I don't mind doing the extra work at 9 o'clock at night. I do it anyway. You know what I mean? So if you're writing the report and it's dinner time and you know, it's taking you longer than it should, no problem. Go eat dinner with your family. I'll take it. I'll do it late at night and say, hey, it's good. You know what I mean? I got you covered. I can't do that if your pictures aren't there though, right? I don't even know what's going on. If I don't know what's going on, I'm an expert at home inspections, then we got a real problem because obviously the agents won't know what's going on, the clients won't know what's going on, the contractors won't know what's going on. So it's just your due diligence to make sure the photos are there and to make sure that that you're aware of what needs to go in the report, right? If you have an older AC unit, got to go. it's got to be in there. If you have an older roof, you got to make a comment. If it has older structural issues, it has to make a comment. You know what I mean? I could point you into those right directions if you're unclear about something. Say there's a gray area. I'm an expert at manipulating that shit to make it sound great, look fine, and cover all bases. And it takes, you know, it takes me literally maybe 40 seconds to write that. So I really don't mind it. If you need help with writing one comment, if you need help with wording something, if you don't know the name is, if you don't feel like doing it because you have such an overwhelming day and you're worried about the time, I got your back, but I cannot have your back if you don't tell me, if you don't take the right photos. And